Hello and welcome to Counter Narrative. Today we'll be looking at some recent videos of famous and influential left figures flexing their authoritarian rhetoric regarding COVID and vaccinations. Firstly, we'll start with Noam Chomsky and Hillary Clinton.
People who refuse to accept vaccines, I think the right response for them is not to force them to, but rather to insist that they be isolated. If people decide, I am willing to be a danger to the community by refusing a vaccine, they should then say, well, I also have the decency to isolate myself. Okay, I don't want a vaccine, but I don't have the right to run around harming people. That should be a convention. Enforcing is a different question. It should be understood, and we should try to get it to be understood. If it really reaches the point where they are severely endangering people, then of course you have to do something about it. So if smallpox turns out to become rampant again, and some people are insisting on running around public places where they might have smallpox, well, you've got to do something about it. We're not at quite that situation, but it's a similar one. So I think we should first attempt to establish conventions that will be understandable by people with some moral capacity, try to convince them that it's your right to refuse to get a vaccine, but then it is your responsibility to isolate yourself so you don't harm others.
I do think it's imperative that the Prime Minister do what he can to stop the rise in COVID in the UK. He doesn't need to shut the society down, but he does need to mandate vaccines.
By mandate vaccines, you mean what we would call vaccine passports, insist that people coming into buildings, into clubs, into restaurants show evidence they
and
have been
employers.
vaccinated.
I mean, part of what we've done in New York, for example, is all of the big health systems, hospitals and the like, they've mandated vaccines. And so, for example, one very large one, 77,000 employees, 1,000 refused to get vaccinated, they were fired.
Okay, so saying they should not be forced to take the vaccine, however isolated from the community, is an oxymoron. It's the same result by a different method. Also, how are the unvaccinated a danger to the vaccinated? Maybe the unvaxxed are a danger to themselves, but that's their choice. Choice being the relevant word. The smallpox comparison is ridiculous also. 3 out of every 10 people who caught smallpox died from it. So this is not comparable to COVID, not even close. The most recent figures I've seen in the UK are 1.5% mortality rate, and from around the world the figures fluctuate for many different reasons. So it's hard to have a definitive number, but it is definitely nowhere even close to 30%. So to even bring that into the conversation is very disingenuous. Okay, so Hillary Clinton being so blasé about 1,000 people losing their jobs is quite horrifying. And how would that work for the NHS? So there's been different figures that I've seen of the unvaccinated for the NHS, between 8% to 15%. So the NHS employs 1.3 million people. So let's call it 10%. If it was 10% that was unvaccinated and they were to lose their jobs, that would be 130,000 people that had been fired because of the NHS vaccination mandates. So that's not feasible. It would actually cripple the NHS. Okay, now we'll take a look at Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and Anna Sarwar, leader of the Scottish Labour Party.
So you basically set this is going to be like, well, it's almost like, you probably don't see it like this, the two different classes of people. If you're vaccinated or if you're unvaccinated, you have all these rights. If you are vaccinated...
That is what it is, so yep.
Can you describe, as you were previously hoping not to have to do that, I guess, when we still looked like we could maintain elimination across the whole country? I guess that has now changed because...
I think it was less because necessarily of the elimination determining that, and more because we, of course, maintained, and actually we have managed very high vaccination rates generally without the use of certificates. But actually what it's become clear to me is that they're not just a tool to drive up vaccines, they're a tool for confidence. People who have been vaccinated will want to know that they're around other vaccinated people. They want to know that they're in a safe environment. It is a way that we can give confidence to those who are going back into hospitality or events. And so that is something that I think we should offer to people who have been vaccinated, that confidence that we're doing everything we can to keep them safe and that they can come back out and start enjoying those things safely.
I would invest in test and protect. I would get the vaccine rollout ramped up, rather than, we know who's not vaccinated. We know where they live. We should be looking at door-to-door vaccinations.
So the way she's so blasé about having a two-tier society is shocking. Also, she states that she wants people to have confidence. As a vaccinated person, the only thing I want confidence in is the vaccine. I would advise anyone else to get it, but if you don't want it, I really don't care. It's your body, it's your choice, it's your life. As long as it works for me, that's all that I want confidence in. In regard to the comments by Anna Sawar, if you need someone to explain what is wrong with that statement, then you've got serious problems. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for listening. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.